Listo.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. This webinar is going to be around IoT and how LoRa technology can help our businesses. So thank you very much again for joining. My name is Gabriel Garcia. I will be explaining to you and telling you what we are doing from Integra. In case you don't know us as a company, we're going to start by explaining a little bit who we are and how a technology consultancy can deliver engineering projects for different businesses. After that, we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between LoRa and LoRaWAN, and we're going to discuss what the advantages of this technology can deliver into the industry. After that, we'll see through a little bit some applications that we can see and where we can understand in how this is a real world technology. We'll also talk about what use cases are being delivered all around the globe. And after that, we'll finish by telling a little bit about how to start with a LoRaWAN project within your companies. This is one of the most important points of the webinar, because it's a little guideline on how to deliver a correct LoRaWAN network within a company. Let's start with Integra and what we are as a company. We are a company with history since 1986. Right now, over 600 people, and we are developing projects in more than 18 countries. This is thanks to the different type of services that we can deliver, and also to the strategic alliances that we have within the company. I'm going to explain very quickly the different types of divisions that we have within Integra, starting by strategy, which is the part of the company that delivers consulting and business excellence projects, thanks to some strategic alliances with companies such as Club Excelente and Gestión, which is the most important company in Spain in certifications of business excellence. We have also the talent division, which supports always based on technology companies in talent management and human resources solutions. This vertical tries to help companies with their talent and how to achieve the correct maintenance and the correct captation of this talent. After that, we have also the technology division, which is focused on infrastructure, technology infrastructure, on cybersecurity and high tech. We also deliver hardware, and all types of cloud expertise are also involved in this technology division. Here we have a lot of partners starting from Lenovo, Fortinet, IBM, Microsoft, or Salesforce, which also supports, in this case, the digital experience division. Here we do a lot of projects regarding marketing, communication, transformation, emailing, automation. So we have different types of projects that we can deliver in this area. After that, we have the IoT data and artificial intelligence division, which is the one I am leading currently within the company. This division is focused on generating and creating the right strategy for data governance, and we could also say that this is the most innovative division within the company, which is leading in this case our internationalization projects with other parts of especially Europe and South America. After that, we are also delivering projects in the business solutions division, in where we install, configure, and prepare all types of business solution for consulting and management processes, such as ERPs, CRMs, or other different types of softwares. This is a little bit what Integra is, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we do in the data and IoT division. Here we basically work as consultants and also as system integrators. We like to explain that the mix between consultancy and system integration is what we really call a technological engineering firm, which is basically what we do. The same as a company that delivers engineering projects for example, shipbuilding companies. We do the same for all type of industries, but focused on engineering the technological side of the projects within companies. This is what we do. This graph that we can see here is what we call the end-to-end solutions process, and basically it joins everything from the design of the project to the correct implementation in real-world applications. For this, we have to focus a lot on the why of the project. So this is why we have the consulting and strategy of the design of the solution. This is where we analyze what is the necessity of a project. And after that, we try to combine these 4 technological aspects so that every project is complete. We have the experience that many projects already have this one of these sides of the project. Sometimes we want to add new information into an existing software. Sometimes we want to create a software for some existing assets or sensors or technological sites. So what we do is we try to find the right technology for each of the projects. This is what has helped us to, in this case, achieve a lot of success cases in many industries. And this is also what helps us to be very agnostic from a technology perspective. We are not, in this case, linked to one specific technology. Although today we're talking about LoRaWAN, we are, for example, in the communications part of the project, working with other technologies such as Sigfox, Narrowband IoT, LTM, or GSM. So what I'm trying to explain is that we are not trying to adapt the technology to a specific use case or to the users. We are doing the opposite. We are trying to understand very well what is the necessity and then adapt or find the right technologies to solve that, and not the other way around. In the sensor part, we are not manufacturers, so this helps us also to have a very, very wide catalog of devices that we can offer to our customers, and where we can find the exact device that helps to solve one problem. We have alliances with the most important companies in the sensor manufacturing ecosystem, so that helps us in this part. After that, we have the communications, which we have already talked a little bit about, and then we also work with platform. We need some type of system that helps to administer, that helps to maintain, that helps to monitor all the different devices that are, in this case, deployed in an IoT project. This is the reason why we are working with all the main IoT platform companies in the ecosystem. We're working with Microsoft Azure, we're working with IBM Cloud, we are working with Amazon Web Services, and then we are also working with a lot of more specific companies such as Loriot for LoRaWAN, or such as Centilo for smart city projects. After that, we understand that if the necessity was correctly assessed, we need to deliver a result into the project. The return of investment of our projects is based on how we can achieve a better management of an asset within a customer. And this is why it's very important to have a very specific applications. We try to not to work with generic applications, because just showing data in a graph is not going to solve the problem. We need to make it easy for the customer, for the user, to use an application. And this is why we do 2 types of creative visualization projects. One is to make custom development. We make custom development in all type of architectures. And the second one is, if there's already an application that the user is using for certain tasks, then what we do is we do our third-party integration. We're able to integrate ourselves with ERPs, with MES, with SCADA systems, with business intelligence systems, or with vertical IoT applications. And this is what helps us to deliver projects and to optimize, maintain, and evolution all the solutions, because we are able to directly touch into the pain point of the users, because all the project is designed to really deliver the right type of data in the right moment, so that the user can apply a specific action that then delivers value into the customer. But let's focus on today's webinar, which is what is LoRa and LoRaWAN. Many of you may have heard about it. Many of you may have understood a little bit the difference between both of them. But basically, when we talk about LoRa, we're talking about a wireless technology. LoRa is a technology. It is a radio technology. that is part of what we call the LP1 technology ecosystem. LP1 means low power wide area network. So we are talking about a type of network that is able to work with very low power and that is able to reach a lot of devices because of its wide area. And this helps to create, in this case, radio systems that have a very long geographical range and also a very low power consumption. We talk about kilometers of range and years, even 10 years of battery duration of the devices. When we talk about LoRaWAN and the LoRaWAN network, and we're talking really about a network protocol that LoRa uses. The role of LoRaWAN is carrying out the communications and managing all the LoRa devices. Basically, it establishes how the network is going to be used in the technology use cases. For this, we have three types of components for one LoRaWAN network. The first one is the nodes. We need to have devices that send and receive data. And we have a lot of examples. We have alarms, we have pet tracking systems, we have meters, we have trash containers, we have vending machines, gas monitoring. We can measure all types of variables using LoRaWAN, from water to air conditions to environmental variables. So there's a lot of variables that we can measure, and LoRaWAN has a wide ecosystem of device manufacturers, so it is easy to find the right device for the right application. After having the nodes sensing and emitting data, we need to have something that is able to receive the information that the LoRaWAN device is sending, and this is what we call the gateway. The gateway works similar to a Wi-Fi router. It lets the devices connect to itself, in this case not with a bidirectional communication. It works as a radio system, so that when the device emits a message, the gateway has the task to catch that message and to receive it and to process it. This is why this intermediate device can act kind of as a hardware platform between LoRaWAN and the internet, which allows them to connect the nodes directly to the internet. But before having that, we need to connect the gateways to the internet, which usually uses the TCP/IP network with a SIM card connected to an Ethernet backhaul. So we really connect this gateway to the internet, which has a very, very wide area network. So we are able to connect the concentrator to a SIM card and then deploy a radio network that can have 20 kilometers of range. But after that, we need to have what we call the network server. The network server is in charge of understanding how the gateways interact within each other, what's the health of the network. We'll see a little bit about network server in the next slides, because after the network server receives information from all the different gateways deployed in a network, it's the network server that acts in this case as an IoT platform, delivering a lot of information for the application server. This helps to secure the payload. This helps to, for example, replicate information in different cloud systems. So we are able, by having a network server, to manage all the devices and to communicate with all the different application servers that are going to use the information gathered by the sensors. When we talk about a typical LoRaWAN architecture, we need to have a system that helps to process the data. The first and one of the main tasks of a LoRaWAN network server, such as Iot, is that it needs to gather information that may be replicated in different gateways. That means that if a device sends information and different gateways catch the message, we would have the same message twice or three times. So Iot is in charge of taking all the different messages from all the different gateways and standardizing them into one single message for each sensor. This is a very, very important task that cannot be done by other types of software. So more than one gateway will receive the same message. So the LoRaWAN network drops duplicated messages, so the cloud infrastructure can only receive each message only one time. This is one of the tasks of the network server. Another one is that what happens if one of my gateways falls down? What happens if, for example, electricity is not available, or if someone breaks the gateway? My whole system could be compromised. In this case, the network server helps to monitor what is happening with all the gateways, so that if one or more gateways are unavailable, the messages won't stop flowing to the cloud infrastructure. It will be managed so that the load is balanced between the healthy gateways. And also it will notify, in this case, the system manager, so that the gateway can be correctly repaired and brought back into the network. The last, let's say, capability of the network server is that it helps to really connect to all the different back systems of the application servers. In this case, we are making an example with IoT Hub from Microsoft Azure, but basically the network server helps to connect from the LoRaWAN network system to the application gateway, the application system. So this really helps to monitor data, to create alarms, to send the data in a proper way so that it can be consumed in real time by the application server and delivered in real time to the users. This is how a LoRaWAN network system usually looks like, and these are the advantages of using this technology instead of using other ones. One of the benefits is the range. It's difficult to find a technology that is able to provide long range. In this case, we are talking, for example, between 3 to 10 kilometers in urban areas. So by deploying small quantity of gateways within a city, it is very easy to deliver smart city applications. And if we talk about open spaces, for example, for agriculture, for aquaculture, for animals. So in this case, we can deliver even only one gateway and having 10 to 20 kilometers of range in open spaces. This is also very interesting because if we are talking about non-powered devices, consumption is one of the key factors. We need to have a very low consumption so that the batteries can last a long time and the project have a better return of investment. For this, because of how the devices communicate with the gateways, the consumption is very low, it's very much optimized. And we are talking that a device that sends, for example, data twice a day can have a battery that lasts up to 10 years. This is very interesting because there's a lot of applications in where sensors haven't been deployed in the past because this was not achievable with the technology from 5, 10, 15 years ago. Right now, we are able to deliver low cost, low consumption devices in almost any type of asset so that the return of investment is there because it wasn't in the past, okay? The next advantage of this technology is that because it's an open source technology, it is possible to deploy private networks. This means that if we are planning on deploying a lot of sensors in one space, instead of renting the connectivity from a public provider, we can deploy our own network, which we then have to manage. So we would kind of create an network as a service system in where we have a network that we have to, in this case, maintain and monitor ourselves. But by having that, we can connect as many sensors as we want without having to pay any provider per message or per device connected or per volume. So that in this case, we can have this benefit of also cost. If we don't want to deploy our own network, we want to use a public network. This is possible with the same type of devices. So we can even mix those systems. And in this case, we can have an ISP to create a private network, or we can have a public provider to provide us with connectivity. LoRaWAN is also very useful because of its tracking capabilities. It's a technology designed to geo-track the nodes so that we can understand where one node is located, and in this case also help us to understand where one specific asset is located currently, which is one of the main applications that we're seeing of these types of LP1 technologies. And the last of these advantages is that LoRaWAN is a very safe technology. It has a very safe two-way connections. It has an end-to-end encryption, and that means that even though it's a radio technology and it can be intercepted, no one could understand what the message means. This has different keys that we have to configure in the gateway and in the device, and with these keys we are able to encrypt the communication between both of the systems. But let's go to see a little bit what the applications and the scope of action can be in these types of technology. As we talked in the past, this technology can be applied in almost any project in where information is needed, is required, and for that we are seeing a very great deployment in smart cities, for example, with control of lights, with control of traffic, with control of lightning in the city. So we are also seeing a lot of projects in agriculture and animals in the smart industry, and we're going to talk a little bit about all the different projects that can be created. For this, we have the primary sector, which is one of the sectors that is benefiting the most of this technology. It can be deployed in a ship, it can be deployed in a port, it can be deployed in a livestock production center, it can be deployed in almost any type of asset of the primary sector. And because usually the primary sector has very, very wide areas, it has been avoided by the traditional network providers. And that means that it has a lot of digitation to be done. After that, we can also talk about public sector, which could be smart cities, which could be also transportation, which could be also healthcare. In this type of projects, it is very easy to deploy a network that can cover, for example, a city, in where we can start monitoring all the different type of sensors that we want, trash sensors, traffic lights, air and water quality, energy efficiency. There's a lot of use cases that can be applied in the smart cities, vertical, also parking, and all these projects can be enabled by LoRaWAN. LoRaWAN can power the possibility of create this type of environment. In industry, this is a very, very interesting technology because it has a very good penetration of the signal. It helps to control and sense a lot of variables which could not be sensed in the past or had a great cost, and the return of investment was not there. And this helps in the manufacturing sector to help, for example, with predictive maintenance of machines, with malfunction detection, thermal control, resources. There's a lot of things that can be in this case applied. We have also possibility of creating secure data infrastructures. Traditional communications are easier to jam, and technologies such as LoRaWAN or Sigfox are very much impossible to jam. So this also helps in the security field, which is being used, for example, also in the automotive and logistics sectors. In this case, we talk about asset tracking. And when it comes to asset tracking, it's very important to ensure that the tracking is going to happen, so that when something bad happens, we are able to detect. When anomalies appear, we are able to send data. And for this, the reliability of LoRaWAN is very important. After seeing a little bit the scope of actions of the projects, we are going to review two very easy use cases that we want to share with you, so that you can see real world examples of what we're doing. The first one would be Tereo Ciral. It's a food company. Tereos really manufactures ingredients from natural resources such as corn, and they create a lot of different end products. It's really the fourth sugar manufacturer worldwide, And what we have helped them is that we created a LoRaWAN and IoT infrastructure for them so that they can start by adding sensors in new fields in where they didn't sense in the past. So once the infrastructure is there, we are able to transform the OT systems, the traditional ways of automating and sensing things, and we can find really variables that could not be sensed in the past and that can affect the production directly. And for this, we have installed autonomous vibration, gas sensors, water pressure sensors. We manage environmental variables that affect both the condition of the product and also the surroundings of the factory. And everything was carried out thanks to the scalability and the easiness of use of the LoRaWAN technology. For this, we also created a very interesting application in where all the different variables can be, in this case, visualized. Another project that we have done was prepared for Bonaria. Bonaria is a huge retail and primary sector manufacturing firm based on Catalonia in Spain, and very focused on the agri-food sector. They develop everything from farming to industrial and commercial activities in order to reach the consumer without having any intermediaries. In this case, the problem was the same one as in the Tereos Siral use case, and it's really that they need to have an infrastructure that helps them to deploy a high volume of devices, a high volume of sensors with low consumption and low cost. And for this, they couldn't deploy, for example, Wi-Fi network within all their facilities. They needed to have something that was much easier to use, that was much easier to, in this case, internally sell, and that was also much easier to calculate the return of investment, so that in this case they could deploy more projects. We started by using a lot of temperature and humidity sensors that helped them to detect how certain types of actions and situations could affect the product. And thanks to the LoRaWAN infrastructure, the installation of the sensors was very easy. The usage of the platform is also very easy, and we were able to develop the solution very, very quickly because we only had to deploy a small quantity of gateways and then to deploy also wirelessly powered sensor that in this case could be deployed all around their factories. But let's go on the final part of the webinar, which would be focused on how to deploy LoRa technology in your company. This is one of the questions that we get the most, and basically it's intended on what components do you need to start with a LoRaWAN project. In our experience, the most difficult part is to start because you need to have the right infrastructure. You need to have the right components so that in this case, you have everything ready to start expanding your use cases. It's very important to start with a first use case that you know has a great return of investment, that you know that will have a great impact in your company, that will affect more than one department. And once this problem is identified, the solution is very, very easy. We really have to deploy the LoRa network deployment. We really need to install the gateways to get the right hardware in the right point. We really need to create the architecture of the system. But once this architecture is created, what we do is we create a coverage map of in this case the region or the facilities where the network was installed, and we can very quickly start by installing new sensors. These new sensors can help to create different very quick use cases, and these use cases can be used then to make the necessary data integrations. That means that if the company has already a software solution that helps to consume the data that is being generated in other parts of the company, it needs to be integrated with the LoRaWAN network. And if there is no such software in hand, then we need to create a very easy to use software system that in this case consumes all the data created by the network. We'll see this a little bit more in detail with what we called the Iot Lorawan Roadmap. This is really how all the components of a LoRawan project are put together in order to create the right architecture. We need to find and select the right sensor for each use case. So we need to find what sensor is going to solve each use case. After that, those sensors need to be configured. We need to program and link, in this case, the sensors to the LoRawan network. After that, we need to provision all the LoRawan gateways. They need to be connected between each other. They need to be connected to the LoRawan network server. So that is the part in where we kind of create the network. And this is achieved thanks to the deployment of the LoRawan network server, which is rolled out, and it starts the service of the gateways. Once the LoRawan network server is deployed, we need to start the data integration, which really means that we need to link all the information that has been gathered from the sensors, and to link the information to the server and the application server, which is the infrastructure that helps to receive and manage all the data and all the service that is being, in this case, provided by the sensors. But having all the information in the application server is not enough. We need to have applications that the users use to consume all the data that is being generated by the sensors. Once the application is in hand, we also need to create what we call the maintenance of the project. We need to maintain all the different layers so that the project keeps working and keeps generating the right return of investment. In this case, the maintenance is important for all layers. We need maintenance in the network layer, we need maintenance in the different servers, and we need also maintenance in the different parts of the sensors, which may have to need to change a battery or maybe to solve certain problem that is making the sensor not able to send data. If this roadmap is followed thoroughly, we can end with a very interesting and very scalable and sustainable LoRawan project that could help a lot of different departments within one company. This is what we wanted to tell you a little bit about today. We think that LoRawan is one of the most interesting technologies right now. We will be hopefully joining the LoRawan World Expo in Paris next end of March 2022. So we hope that if you find this technology interesting, we can meet in person there. And I would really and gladly thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much for your attention. Gabriel Garcia talking as Business Development Manager at Integra. And again, thank you very much. It was very interesting to share this webinar with you. Right now, we are going to start the questions. So please feel free to ask any questions you may have so that we can answer them right now or through email after the webinar has finished. Thank you very much.